XML, which stands for Extensible Markup Language, is what I like to call the 5-minute programming language. It's very similar to HTML, except that it has fewer rules. Now, in the past and still today, it is frequently used as a language for modeling and sharing data in a format which is readable both for humans and for machines. Nowadays, we typically advise using JSON instead of XML for transferring data across the web and things like that, but we still use XML quite frequently for the Android platform in terms of creating things like layouts, views, and configuration files. So we will be discussing a few of those different things shortly, but for now, let's just familiarize ourselves with the basic structure of an XML document. Before proceeding, please create a file either in Android Studio or even in just a basic text editor, which has the file extension .xml at the end. I've chosen to call it Extensible Markup Language. So in this very simple declarative style programming language, most of what you'll be doing is creating tags. So the first tag we'll look at is an optional doc type tag, looking like so. And so how this basically works is similar to an HTML document. Certain programs will require that you specify the doc type, which is specified here, XML, and encoding format and version. Don't worry too much about that stuff. You'll never, in Android as far as I'm aware, ever have to edit that. And oftentimes you don't even need to include this doc type element in the file you're working with. Android Studio will be able to infer that it's an XML document based on the file extension at the end. Alright, so as mentioned before, XML is very similar to HTML, except that it has fewer rules about the specific tags that you have to use. In fact, the program which interprets the XML that you're feeding your XML file into will basically entirely dictate which tags or elements and things we'll see in a moment called attributes and namespaces which you need to be using in order to properly configure whatever you're trying to properly configure. Let's start by creating some basic tags which have nothing to do with the Android operating system. So I'm just going to create a tag by hitting the arrow key here, and I'm going to type human. Then I'm going to close that tag. And as you can see, Android Studio has automatically added a closing tag. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create a comment indicating that the first tag is an open tag. So I'm going to hit arrow exclamation mark dash dash, and then I'm going to hit dash dash exclamation mark arrow, and this is how we create a comment. Ignore the error showing up here. My IDE is kind of glitching out. So in this comment tag, I'm just going to specify that below is an open tag, and then we're going to just copy and paste that into here. And this is going to be a close tag, and what dictates whether something is an open or a close tag depends on where the slash is essentially. So if we have no slash, this indicates that there will be some kind of closing tag to finish off whatever tag we're working with, and then the slash at the front of the arrows will indicate a closing tag. So the rules for what we can put inside of an open tag is also quite open. So we could either put raw text data, and sometimes that's what we'll be doing, and we can also nest tags within each other. So here we have a tag human, and I'm going to give it a name tag. As you can see, I'm totally making this up as I go. This is not actually supposed to reflect anything important here or anything you'll be writing on Android. And for the name field, we're going to type John Doe. Sometimes it will be necessary to create a new tag which doesn't actually allow any elements within it, and what that looks like is we create the name of the tag that we want, and then we add the slash at the end of the name as opposed to at the start, and this indicates a tag which is basically open and closed at the same time. So there isn't too much else to the XML programming language. We only have two other topics. So for starters, we need to talk about what an attribute is. So I'm going to create a tag which you will be becoming familiar with on the Android platform. So this tag is going to be called text view, like so. And I'm going to immediately close the tag. So the way that you create an attribute for a particular element or tag is you type the name of the attribute. So in this case, we're going to type text, followed by an equals sign, and then you will provide the actual value which you want to give to the attribute. So in this particular case, we're going to type hello universe, and that is our attribute. So the only other thing you need to know about XML is that attributes can have namespaces. So rather than giving a lengthy explanation of what those are, let's just look at a practical example of a namespace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a second attribute in this tag called text. And we're going to type hello world. Now, normally, if we did not have a namespace, which we'll see in a moment, then very likely we'll have issues with the program which is interpreting this particular tag. There's going to be a repeated tag, and it's not necessarily going to know which one to pick. So the way that we can kind of specify different tags, different attributes which have the same name, is we can give them a namespace. So all this really is it's just a way of differentiating different attributes. So the one which you'll be using primarily is going to be the Android namespace, which we'll see in a moment when we look at XML layouts. And another one which you may end up using is a namespace for design time attributes called tools. So by having a different namespace, this is going to make it so that our program can know which particular attribute to work with. Android will be something that the program understands to actually use in the produced application, whereas tools is basically a namespace which indicates design time attributes, and those things will basically be removed from the produced application.